Would you send a 5-year-old to battle? Now what if the world depended on it? Would you put him on a battlefield where people he loves are dying, where his body will be broken, show him a massacre, and then ask him to train for the next fight like nothing happened? This was the hell Gohan was born into. Like and subscribe if you're ready. He was a boy who cried at the sight of violence, who flinched from conflict, whose mother kept him inside studying because she knew that the world his father lived in would consume her son if it ever got its hands on him. Chi-Chi wasn't being overprotective, she was being accurate. Gohan didn't want to fight, he wanted to be a kid. He wanted to learn and grow up the way children are supposed to grow up, without the weight of the world sitting on their shoulders before they're old enough to carry it. The world gets its hands on him anyway. Raditz arrives. Gohan is 4 years old, and in the space of a single afternoon, his entire understanding of reality is dismantled. His father is an alien. Danger is real, and the adults who are supposed to protect him cannot. He is taken, traumatized, and then, in the moment of pure, overwhelming fear, something erupts from inside him that nobody expected. Power. Enormous, uncontrollable, unconscious power, and then it's gone, and he's just a scared child again. That pattern, power emerging from trauma and then receding, is the first lesson the world teaches Gohan. That his strength isn't something he controls, it's something his pain controls. Then the Saiyun saga truly begins. Yamcha dies, Tien dies, Chiaotzu dies. Gohan stands on that battlefield and watches everyone he loves disappear. He is 5 years old, and the lesson the Saiyan saga burns into him is the one that will shape everything that follows. Love is not enough to protect people. They die anyway. The boy who cried on the battlefield learns his first hard truth. Feeling isn't protection, caring isn't armor. The world doesn't spare people because someone loves them. Then comes the moment that changes the relationship completely. Nappa's attack. The beam is heading directly for Gohan, and Piccolo steps in front of it, the man who kidnapped him, who trained him through methods that would generously be called brutal, who was supposed to be his enemy, dies protecting him. Gohan's scream in that moment isn't just grief. It's the specific devastation of a child who realizes that the person who prepared him for the world cared about him more than the world deserved. By the end of the Saiyan saga, Gohan has watched Goku, Yamcha, Tien, Chiaotzu, and Piccolo fall. He is still a child, and the battlefield has already taken more from him than any child should lose. Then the world gets bigger and darker. Namek expands Gohan's understanding of suffering to a scale he had no framework for. Frieza's forces don't just fight, they massacre entire villages, entire populations. People begging for their lives are treated as inconveniences. Gohan watches this, processes this, carries this. He fights enemies who treat life as meaningless, who kill without hesitation or remorse, who looks at a child standing in front of them and sees an obstacle rather than a person. Then his body is broken. The Ginyu Force doesn't just defeat Gohan, they hurt him. His neck is broken. His limits are exposed and exceeded in ways that make clear this body that carries all this power can be destroyed just like any other. Training. A child being readied for the next war before the wounds from the last one have fully healed. Drop in the comments. At what point do you think Gohan stopped being a child and became a soldier? The hyperbolic time chamber with his father is the clearest example. A year of preparation compressed into the space before Cell. A child and his father, alone together, preparing for something that could kill everyone on Earth. Think about what that conversation looks like. What it feels like to train your child for a fight that might end the world. What it feels like to be that child. Gohan doesn't get the ordinary accumulation of childhood memories. He gets preparation, he gets the next fight, he gets a father who loves him and simultaneously cannot stop handing him back to the battlefield. And that's what he does when he tells Gohan to fight Cell. The last pieces of ordinary childhood are replaced with readiness for something no child should carry. The Cell games are the payoff of everything that came before. Every loss, every sacrifice, every lesson the world burned into Gohan against his will. Cell pushes him, tortures him, creates Cell Jr. specifically to hurt the people Gohan loves while he watches. Because Cell understands somehow that Gohan's power lives in his pain. And he's right. Android 16's head hits the ground, and something in Gohan breaks open. Not just power, something older and deeper than power. Something that was building since Piccolo died in front of him, since he watched his friends fall on the Saiyan battlefield, since Namek, since his neck was broken, since every fight he didn't choose took something from him he couldn't name. It all comes out at once. And here's where Gohan becomes unrecognizable. He doesn't want to win quickly. He doesn't want to end it efficiently. He doesn't fight the way his father would fight, with joy, with respect, with the warrior's code that says defeat your enemy and move on. Gohan wants Cell to suffer. He draws it out, he toys with him, he wants the pain to go somewhere outside of himself, and cell is the direction it goes. Most people read this moment as a flaw, a mistake, the reason Gohan's power becomes a liability rather than an asset. But look closer at what actually happened. This child, who never wanted to fight, was handed battle after battle by a world that kept finding new reasons to need him. He watched people he loved die. He had his body broken. He was prepared for wars while other children his age were playing outside. And when he finally had the power to make something suffer the way he had suffered, when he finally had the ability to let the pain go somewhere other than inward, he did. That isn't monstrous. That is the most human response imaginable. A child who spent his entire life absorbing the world's violence finally, briefly, redirected it outward. Not because he was corrupted, not because he was evil, but because that is what happens to people who are handed more than they should carry and never given permission to put it down. The switch up, that moment he wanted his enemies to suffer, wasn't a fall from grace. It was the inevitable result of a child who was never allowed to just be a child. Tell me in the comments, who is your favorite Dragon Ball character? If you're still here, subscribe. More videos like this are coming.